Welcome to this lesson on leading with integrity. In this lesson we provide a number of steps you can take to lead your team and business with integrity. So let's get started on this journey. The key to successful leadership is to be able to influence others. Good leaders are people-oriented. They are followed mainly because people trust and respect them, not because of their specific professional or technical skills. Technical and intellectual ability are not the prime characteristics of great leaders. Too often people are promoted into leadership positions because of their technical competence, but they are unable to lead effectively, because they do not have, or do not demonstrate the necessary behavioral characteristics. Integrity is a quality that encompasses truthfulness, credibility and sincerity. In a leadership position, integrity manifests itself in the way a leader speaks to, guides and reacts to group members. Learning to lead with integrity requires developing self-awareness, adhering to a strict moral code and communicating truthfully with group members, regardless of the complexity of the situation or the possibility of negative consequences. In this unit, we will look at some strategies for leading with integrity, including how to behave with integrity, how to build trust, and how to inspire respect. Most people would agree that behaving with integrity is important, but what exactly does it mean? Definitions of integrity typically refer to honesty, truthfulness and keeping promises. Important as these things are, however, and they are very important, integrity is more than that. Integrity is about a person's character and their values. It is about having sound ethical principles, and a clear moral compass, and importantly, it is about a person behaving in accordance with those principles, even if it is not in his or her personal interest. Take for example, a leader who does not communicate the truth about a difficult situation, because he or she does not want to deal with the consequences, but then justifies that dishonesty, on the basis of not wanting to upset other people. Or the leader who persuades his or her team to commit to a project, when his or her underlying motivation for taking on the project is self-promotion. For anyone and everyone, behaving with integrity means doing the right thing in accordance with what they truly believe and value. It means having a clear conscience. Leaders should have a clear set of personal values, understood by them and their team. For anyone and everyone, behaving with integrity means doing the right thing in accordance with what they truly believe and value. It means having a clear conscience. So if integrity means behaving in accordance with a set of personal values and beliefs, leaders first need to have an understanding of what their own values and beliefs actually are. Essentially, they need their own personal moral code. For leaders, as with everyone else, personal values help them to decide what they should and should not do. They provide the foundations on which their behaviors are set. They influence the decisions they make, what they do, what they say and how they say it. Personal values are not things that can be switched on and off to suit the situation. Leaders are required to live out their values every day, and they need to behave consistently in accord with those values, so that people can depend on their words and actions in all situations. A common failing is that many people have convenient values, which means that they live by certain values, only when it is convenient to them to do so. For example, most people would identify that being honest and truthful is an important value, and that people should abide by the law. However, many people who have abide by the law as a personal value, then seek to justify their own, or other people's, behavior when laws and regulations are broken. Consider those people who justify speeding when driving on a motorway, or those people who justify parking in the no parking zone, while they pop into a shop because they do not want to pay to park for an hour. In leadership, convenient values are most often reflected by convenient truths. Leaders who do not tell the truth, because it is beneficial not to do so, either for them personally or for their team. It might be a leader promising a key team member that they will get a promotion, in the hope that it will prevent them leaving the organization, when in reality the leader knows that it is highly unlikely that the person will be promoted. It might be telling investors or lenders that the business is performing better than it really is, so that they will not withdraw their capital, or so they will not seek to replace the leaders. It might be promising customers that the business can deliver what they want by a deadline, as a way of securing a contract, even though it is unlikely to happen. Behaving with integrity is also about standing up for what is right, however uncomfortable that might be. It means dealing with situations when people are being dishonest, treating others unfairly or behaving unethically. Many teams have values that everyone is expected to abide by. This is a very positive statement, as it sets out for the whole team who they are and what they stand for and sets the standards by which team members will be judged. Making a public statement of values is about transparency and adds credibility to a team. If these values are not publicly stated, then it is all too easy to avoid behaving in accordance with them, because there is no accountability. A team's culture and identity is set by the leadership, and so leaders can only expect their team to behave with integrity, if they do so themselves. The leader's role is to model appropriate behaviors, and to set the tone and standards for everyone to follow. Leaders need to set the right example, so that people clearly understand what is expected of them. Behaving with integrity also means taking personal responsibility. A leader is in a unique position to be able to take the credit when things go well, but to easily shift the blame onto others when things go wrong. This all too common blame culture will slowly, but surely destroy a team and, in time, the whole organization. All leaders should remember that a mistake is an opportunity to say sorry, to learn lessons and to do things better in the future. People want their leaders to show honesty and humility in admitting their mistakes. Leaders who behave with integrity are authentic. Behaving authentically means being true to oneself, not only to one's own values and beliefs, but also being authentic and not acting out a role to achieve a specific purpose. It means recognizing one's strengths and weaknesses, and not trying to create a false impression by putting on an act. It is also about not falsely hiding personal emotions and ambitions. Authentic leaders are those who ultimately lead in accordance with their own convictions. Leaders must be true to themselves. Yes, people should always be open to learning from others, but they should focus on making the best of their own skills and characteristics, and should not try to be a clone of other people. Only in this way will they be a credible leader. Trust is our big issue in today's business world, since evidence suggests that trust between employees and employers has been declining. It is difficult, if not impossible, to have effective and productive working teams without trust. Therefore, trust is critical for every business. Team trust is a collective choice of individuals, willing to commit to a new, shared way of working. Creating high levels of trust among team members requires leadership, and a conscious choice to invest in establishing trust. Trust is established because of what we say and what we do. Leaders therefore need to behave appropriately at all times, working hard to build trust, while at the same time being careful to avoid doing or saying anything that may damage fragile, trusting relationships. So what do leaders need to do to earn the trust of others? On the face of it, earning the trust of others should be relatively easy. Here are some of the behaviors which contribute to building trust. Tell the truth, treat people with respect, treat people fairly, support people, communicate openly and honestly, and always deliver on promises. If every leader and every team member adopt these behaviors, then they will help to create a more trusting environment and, consequently, a more positive, motivated and successful team. The first step in building trust is for leaders to trust their team. Leaders need to show that they trust other people before they can reasonably expect to be trusted. It is the leader's responsibility to set a positive example to his or her team, that the culture and beliefs are based around trust, and that the team will only be successful when there is mutual trust. A leader should place great emphasis on creating a trusting environment for her team. Trusting others is based on the premise that people are fundamentally good, tell the truth, and will try to do their best. All leaders are responsible for leading the way and creating a culture of trust. This does not mean that leaders have to trust others completely and without reservation, what you might call blind trust. Instead, leaders need to look for opportunities to openly extend their trust to other people, while taking account of the other person's character and competence, and also the potential risk involved in the particular situation. As people then prove themselves to be trustworthy, so more trust is extended in more situations, and when a leader shows trust and belief in other people's skills and abilities, he or she can then harness their energy, their commitment, and their talent to develop a high-performing team. The opposite of effective delegation is micromanagement, where a manager provides too much input, direction, and review of delegated work. It is important to avoid overly supervising people, and so leaders should instead manage any potential risk by agreeing specific times to review progress. Encourage your people to take on responsibilities and to seek help and guidance when they need it. Delegation is an important skill for leaders to develop, so that they can free up their own time to focus on what they should be doing, and to make the best use of the skills of the people within their team, thereby offering team members opportunities to fulfill their own ambitions. To delegate effectively, leaders need to show that they believe in other people's ability. They need to show that they have confidence in people, by allowing them the flexibility to work in their own way, provided it does not adversely affect anyone else, and should not meddle or keep checking on them. Treating people in this way says, "I trust you to deliver the right standard of work on time, and I believe in you." If leaders fail to show appropriate trust and, in turn, become overbearing, they will reduce people's self-confidence, which will stifle their initiative and creativity. Our fundamental requirement of integrity is for leaders to always tell the truth, to always keep their word. There cannot be trust without honesty. It means telling the whole truth, without spin or distortion, as soon as possible, even when it is bad news. While the truth may hurt, when it is told with tact and sensitivity, it is unequivocally the right thing to do. Another important behavior, which is sometimes easier to say than do, is for leaders to always deliver on their promises, and so by their example, create such a culture within their team. This involves making promises in the first place, so that they are seen to be accountable for their actions and performance, and then delivering on those promises. Clearly, people will soon lose trust in others who overpromise and underdeliver. However, it is not uncommon to see leaders encouraging behavior that is designed to impress other people by deliberately underpromising and over-delivering, so that expectations can be exceeded. A simple example would be to agree a date for delivery of a project, knowing that it will be completed before then, so that the recipient will be led to believe that the project team have performed above expectations. This is dishonest and is not delivering on a promise. People want to receive exactly what they thought they were going to receive, at exactly the time when they thought they were going to receive it. When circumstances change, which mean that something may happen on a different time scale, this should be communicated as soon as possible, to let the other person know what is happening, and to manage their expectations. Leaders should never take the credit for other people's efforts and successes. It is important that they acknowledge the contributions of others both privately, so that people's efforts are recognized, and publicly, so that they explicitly recognize the contributions of others, and so that they cannot be accused of trying to take the credit for successes. Conversely, when things go wrong, leaders need to publicly stand up for their team. People need to know that they will be supported, and that there will not be a blame culture. In turn, when leaders make mistakes, they should quickly admit their mistakes, and look to put things right. Conversely, when things go wrong, leaders need to publicly stand up for their team. People need to know that they will be supported, and that there will not be a blame culture. In turn, when leaders make mistakes, they should quickly admit their mistakes, and look to put things right. Without doubt, leaders should always respect confidences. They should never disclose information told to them in confidence, without the express permission of the other person. They should also be careful about what they say in public about other people, whether team members, or other people outside the team. At the very least, this should mean that nothing unpleasant or hurtful is ever said in public. This behavior helps create a culture within a team, that the leader and team members can be trusted to deal with information sensitively. Leaders should always behave fairly, and be seen to behave fairly, in the way that they treat all team members. They should always base their decisions on evidence and not on assumption or prejudice. Leaders also need to avoid being perceived as having favorites, or even worse, as receptive to nepotism. This means ensuring all employees are where viable, treated equitably, and given equal opportunities. One of the greatest causes of lack of trust in leaders is when others believe that they are acting out of self-interest, rather than for the authentic benefit of all parties involved. In many situations, there is an element of self-interest, but what matters is whether the leader is really motivated to achieve the best outcome for others, and that any desire for personal benefit is a secondary consideration. It is simply about doing the right thing by the other person, and being seen to do the right thing. A fundamental requirement of leading with integrity is showing respect for your people. What does showing respect mean? Words that come to mind include consideration, thoughtfulness, admiration, fairness and courtesy. Showing authentic respect for other people should be one of the easiest things for a leader to do. It is after all doing little else other than behaving as a decent human being towards others. Sadly, on all too many occasions, as people move up the hierarchical ladder to become leaders, they fail to show this basic human and leadership behavior as often as they should. All leaders should prioritize respecting others and developing a culture of mutual respect throughout their team. Leaders need to set the standards for all team members to follow, in that everyone should be accorded the same level of respect, irrespective of the job they do and the title they carry, and that level of respect should be set at the highest level, not the lowest. Develop and use written ethics guidelines, but encourage people to use them as part of deeper discussion and decision-making, not as a rulebook. Remember that written codes of conduct, ethics or practice tell employees what the organization stands for or won't stand for. However, the primary influence on the staff is you, the leader. Your works and deeds set the standards for your team. They watch you and listen to you for the real story of what matters. By their own behavior, leaders need to create an environment of mutual respect of differences in background, gender, ethnicity and culture, and they should ensure that their teams embrace diversity, recognizing that diverse teams offer a richness of personalities, experiences and skills that can be used to benefit everyone. Learn how to manage conflict effectively. Learn how to deal with bullying and harassment. And learn about diversity and the benefits it brings. Showing respect means being considerate, thoughtful, courteous and fair. Here are some tips. Using basic courtesies such as saying please and thank you. Respecting other people's time commitments when seeking help or wanting to discuss something with them. Turning up to all meetings on time. Turning off mobile phones when in meetings. Paying attention to other people when they are speaking. And not criticizing people's performance or behavior to other people. Integrity differentiates great leaders from the mainstream. Learning to lead with integrity requires self-discipline and good amount of courage. By learning to lead with integrity, you will gain the respect of both your managers and your employees. Respect is an attitude of mind. Leaders need to recognize its importance and then ensure that they behave appropriately at all times, thereby creating the culture for everyone to embrace. By leading with integrity, employees across the organization will take up the mantle and treat one another with respect. A harmonious workplace is one which organizations and individuals can grow. There are a number of activities to complete for this unit. Take the time to complete these in your manual. In this way, you will better learn from and retain the knowledge covered in this unit. Many thanks for your time. Want to learn more? Go to one of our websites to view our many courses on leadership.